What's up, everybody? Superducks fan here for another weekly update. So there is tons of news to go over once again, so I'm just going to go straight into the news, skip the car portion like I mentioned last week, for a couple weeks here at least, because the Geneva Motor Show is next week, and there's tons of reveals already that have come out ahead of their actual in-person reveals in Geneva, and so I'm going to go over all these cars this week and then next week, all the other debuts. So first, a couple things to wrap up from last week. Now, last week I mentioned how the Fiesta ST, the new one, was just being revealed as the video was being posted, so I didn't have all the details on it just yet. Now we have all the details on the new Fiesta here, and it's pretty underwhelming if I'm honest. It's going to be all new, it's based on the completely new Fiesta, and we only have the European specs, but we're expecting it to be the same here in the States. So what it's going to be is the same 197 horsepower and the same roughly 214 pound-feet of torque, but it's doing it in a different way. So it's getting rid of the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and replacing it with a 1.5 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. So more downsizing here. A performance model with a 3-cylinder engine. It makes the same power, but they're saying it's going to be more fuel efficient, obviously being a smaller engine. They're still saying it's going to be about the same 0 to 60 time as well. 0 to 62 happens in 6.7 seconds for the European version. I'm guessing that may be the two-door, so ours may vary slightly, but basically, again, the same performance as the outgoing model, which is kind of disappointing. Usually with a new model, you're hoping for higher performance, not by a ton. Like the new GTI gets another 10 or 15 horsepower every refresh. So something like that would be nice. Obviously this isn't a hot rod, but still a little improvement would have been, welcome. But anyway, they say that the torque comes on sooner actually with this new engine versus the outgoing one, which I find hard to believe, especially since you're relying more on the turbo now than you ever were before with the larger engine of the other Fiesta STs. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but this engine has to be under so much stress to be smaller, one less cylinder, bigger turbo than before, and still be stressed to do that same amount of power. I kind of have concerns about reliability for something like this, but who knows? Ford knows what they're doing. They did improve the reliability of these engines in another way though, and that is that it also has the whole block and stuff for this 1.5 liter has been redone, and so it's got an integrated exhaust manifold and the turbo is all new. But the big thing here is it also has port and direct fuel injection, which is important because all these other motors, the EcoBoost Mustang and the other EcoBoost engines in the other ST models, they all have a lot of carbon buildup after a while because they're strictly direct injection. And we all know now that port injection is needed to clean off those valves so you don't get all gunked up. And that's a problem with a lot of the European brands that have direct injection as well. And so this has both port and direct. So the port will clean off those valves, which will help it to actually have the same performance and emissions performance, down the road, not just right now. And they say it'll also lower CO2 emissions with both injections there too. Another interesting thing, they're really trying to go for fuel economy. This is the performance model, so I don't know why they're stressing so much, but it actually has cylinder deactivation, so it can get rid of one of the cylinders and only run on a 2-cylinder engine. And I don't understand. It's already only 3 cylinders. To go down to 2, hopefully that feature only comes on if you're going like downhill and the wind is in your direction, because otherwise I feel like you're always going to at least need those 3 cylinders. Most likely you'd be hoping for more, but just kind of interesting that they're even going so far as to do cylinder deactivation on a 3-cylinder car. But anyway, that's what they're doing, and it's also going to have different drive modes. There's now a normal, sport, and track modes, which help to amp things up whenever you feel the need. It also has some kind of an active exhaust because they're mentioning a baffle within the exhaust. The different driving modes also turn up the amount of sound that gets pumped in artificially through the sound amplifier and the speakers and whatnot that this car has, much like all the other EcoBoost models. So it has all those different driving modes, things like that. It's going to be cooler. As you can see, the interior looks nicer, and I do like the looks of it overall, but I don't know if it's worth upgrading for those that have a current Fiesta ST, considering the performance isn't really that much better. And yeah, interesting choice there for engines. But then again, you know, we know Honda's going for 1.5 liter turbo in their new Civic Si now and stuff. So this is just the way everyone's going, unfortunately. So yeah, if you like big engines, hang on to the one you have. Another vehicle that, again, is a little bit of a disappointment. Last week, talking about the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, which is the crossover that they're going to be positioning in between the Outlander Sport and the normal Outlander, that uses the Eclipse name for no good reason aside from just wanting to ruin it and make it more sporty. And so we have official pictures of what it looks like here. I posted them on Instagram, and a lot of people actually said the back end looks like a Pontiac Aztek, which is regarded by most people as the ugliest vehicle ever made. And so that is not a good thing. I personally don't think it looks that awful, but I mean, I think it's actually a fairly handsome looking vehicle from most other angles, but that back end certainly is a little iffy. But to continue on with the disappointment, I promise the news will get better soon. There's more exciting stuff. But this thing is going to have a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Once again, tiny little engine in this Eclipse Cross. So completely non-sporty. All-wheel drive is going to be available on it as well, though it may be offered with front-wheel drive as well. But that's the only engine. There's also going to, I think, be a diesel for the rest of the world, but we, of course, don't get that here in the States. So just that one engine for us. They didn't announce any horsepower figures for that engine, but I'm not too optimistic considering it's a 1.5 liter. So yes, you know, maybe they could redeem themselves by dropping the good old Evo engine into one of these and actually making a performance model. But the way Mitsubishi's been going, I would not hold my breath for that. So, but yeah, interesting news there. And if you do happen to like this Eclipse Cross for whatever reason, they will be available here in America by the end of this year. Now for some actually exciting stuff. The first is that Chevy this past week revealed the 2018 Camaro ZL1 1LE. And man, I mean, Chevy just keeps knocking it out of the park with the Camaros. And I will talk more about this in a second, but I don't understand why they're not selling more Camaros still. It's just mind-blowing. All of them are awesome, from the normal standard Camaros all the way up to this new top dog here. So what you're looking at is the most track-focused Camaro ever. It even ups the ante from the outgoing Z28 of the 5th gen. This thing has wider tires, 305 wide tires in the front, 325 wide tires in the back, and it uses the same 650 horsepower supercharged V8 as the standard ZL1, which is totally fine, nothing to complain about there, plenty of power. Only available with a 6-speed manual in 1LE tradition. They're all manual only, but they do have a revised 6-gear ratio here for the ZL1 1LE. But this also even has the same Multimatic spool valve shocks that you got on the previous Camaro Z28s. And so they feature different springs with adjustable perches for changing the ride height yourself. And up front there, you can also even change the camber to go past -3 degrees, which is, you know, again, to set it up exactly for whatever track you're running. Very, very track focused. The springs are also stiffer. The rear stabilizer bar is also adjustable. And the 1LE package drops the weight of the ZL1 by 60 pounds as well, and part of that, they say, is thanks to a lighter back seat, but this still does actually have a back seat. So this package is going to be available by the summer, so relatively soon here, and it just looks awesome too. I mean, just all the little details too, with little X's there in the rear spoiler that's carbon fiber hood that's exposed, the canards there that you have in the front, and everything is just really amazing looking. And I mean, the ZL1 already looks spectacular, and with the 1LE trim here, looks even better. But whenever this car was revealed, a bunch of people were all confused and freaking out about, wait a minute, why isn't this called the Z28? There's a very good reason why it's not called the Z28, and that is simply because Z28s historically have been naturally aspirated, and that was the big difference with the 5th gen versus the ZL1. The ZL1 was actually the faster model for the 5th gen. The Z28 was just the track-focused one, larger engine, but it was, you know, more the rever of the group, and so that's, I think, what they're going for here. This may actually be the top dog. Technically, it might have the most horsepower and the best overall performance, but I think the Z28 may be going back to kind of the roots of the Z28, and it'll either be less hardcore or more hardcore. Either way, we can't really lose. I mean, this is spectacular, and regardless of what they call this thing that we're looking at here, it's pretty amazing, and who cares if it's not called a Z28? But there is hope, though. I mean, the Z28, we're hearing there still will be a Z28 that will come out, and it could have that LT5 motor that I mentioned many, many weeks ago in the weekly update, which is a very high-revving, high-horsepower V8 engine that is under development at GM, and and it could show up in a Camaro first before it shows up in the Z28 here, but we think that it's definitely going to be, that's going to be what the Z28 is going to be. And some people are even saying it could have up to 750 horsepower naturally aspirated, which would be pretty crazy, but would be pretty awesome. We've been hearing rumors also about Ford taking their 7-liter V8 engine from their trucks and tuning that for some kind of Boss 429 kind of model as well, which could do battle here against the Z28. But again, all just rumors at this point. This is just conjecture, but very exciting if true. And so yeah, another thing though is there was an interesting Camaro model that was spied this past week, and there's a lot of different speculation about what this is. A lot of people say, haha, this is the Z28. I don't think it actually is the Z28, simply because it looks far too tame. From the brakes to the wheels to no big spoiler in the back, no aggressive front end. I think what this actually is that we're looking at, I mean, even the hood looks really tame. I think what we're looking at here is just a refreshed model. The reason why I think it's a refresh, a lot of people say, oh, it's too soon for a refresh. You know, the Camaro style is only 2 years old, and the 2018 here we're already seeing with the 1LE looks the same. But I think this could be, I think the 2018 model year for the Camaro could be very short, and a 2019 model could be rolled out very early. The reason why is I think that Chevy is scrambling to restyle the Camaro. And this is just my own personal thoughts, but the reason why is because the Camaro is selling terribly. And not like just, oh, it's not doing as well just because it's a sports car and it's the middle of winter. The Mustang almost every month sells nearly double. There's been some months where the Camaro has almost caught up with the Mustang, but it continues to be the sales loser of the group, and it even sells less than the Challenger a lot of times. And many months, this month included, for just the month of January, the Challenger has still sold, I think, almost 1,000 units more than the Camaro, and the Challenger has been unchanged since 2010, aside from the slight restyle and the addition of the more performing models. But the Camaro is definitely the best driving one of the bunch out of the three. It's by far the best driving, but I think that the styling is holding up a lot of people. And Chevy has been quick in the past to react to people that don't like the styling of. In the past, I think actually with the Malibu, they restyled it. People didn't like it, and like 6 months later, they ran to the drawing board and hurry up and did a light refresh on it that I think went over a little bit better. And this isn't even that quick, but I think that they have probably moved up the timeline for a refresh on the Camaro, simply to try and hopefully help sales of it. Although this car does look like it still has the same very slim windows, so the visibility won't be fixed, but at least it may have some different styling to hopefully appeal to a wider audience of people that are otherwise passing by a great performing vehicle. So that's just my personal take on it, but that's what I think this is. That's why you have such heavy aggressive camo in the front there. You can't tell anything. That's because it's completely all new, I think, there in the front. Same goes for the back end, and I think that's why you can see the middle part of the car is totally the same, because this is a refresh we're looking at. That's, again, my personal thoughts, but certainly makes sense to me, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Speaking about the other muscle car of the group, though, the Challenger, we have another teaser here for the Dodge Challenger Demon this week, and this teaser focuses on how it has a ton of torque and how it's upgraded all the components to handle these higher torque levels. So, I mean, we already know the standard Hellcat has 650 pound-feet of torque already, so it's going to be even more than that here, obviously, for the Demon. By how much more, we still don't know. Hopefully, we'll have, final specs here sometime before the New York Auto Show, but it might not be till then. Anyway, the improvements that are advertised here in this week's teaser are an upgraded prop shaft, half shafts, and differential housing. So that prop shaft uses high-strength steel, heat-treated stub shafts, and increases the tube thickness by 20% for an overall 15% increase in torque capacity. The upgraded differential housing has 30% increase in torque capacity, and the 41 spline half shafts that deliver 20% more torque capacity also use high-strength alloy steel, and so all that stuff helps supposedly to beef up this so that it can handle the higher torque levels and the increased grip from launch that you get. Last week they advertised how it's going to have insane launching ability, and also they talked more about that this week with there's a new launch assist software, which in addition to helping you get a normal perfect launch, actually helps to get rid of some of the wheel hop, and it actually, they say, Dodge says this is the first factory production vehicle that uses wheel speed sensors to actually detect wheel hop, the moment it happens, and instantly cut torque to that wheel individually to perfectly even it out, so that all you have to do is keep your foot planted to the floor and the computer figures out exactly how to launch the car perfectly, so you don't have any wheel spin, any wheel hop, and it just grips and goes, which is pretty trick stuff here. In addition, they also said at the end of this teaser here that they're going to be offering a 4-point harness mounting bar, obviously for racing, and that's going to be an optional accessory that will take the place of where your deleted back seat would go. We know from previous teasers the Demon is going to have an option for a back seat and an option for a front passenger seat. You have to add those things back in if you want them. Otherwise, it's a one-seater vehicle. So, I mean, really drag focused. Also, we've been seeing some spy shots of completely uncamouflaged demons that are showing up on the streets, but then also in Fast and Furious promotional stuff for the Fate of the Furious, Fast and Furious 8 here coming out. And so these spy shots, people are saying, oh, this is the new demon, but I'm not so sure what we're looking at is a production demon. Couple of reasons. There aren't any badges on it that say demon. There aren't the typical, badges that were also teased in the official teasers for the demon. And also, this car has a big Nitto sticker at the top, which makes me think this is a promo vehicle for a music video that is out, or other Fast and Furious promo stuff. So I think this is a movie car, the car that possibly was used to film the movie, or just a promo car for the movie, and that would explain also the Liberty Walk kit on it, which, I mean, Dodge has done crazier things in the past, but a lot of people think this car won't actually come from the factory with that bolt-on look wide body kit. But again, it could be. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's kind of curious, though, that, Dodge is so loose with all this Fast and Furious stuff. You would think if they were really trying to tease the demon and keep it under wraps, then they wouldn't be showing it all over commercials for the new Fast and Furious movie. So I think that that kind of stuff might be a little more extreme than the standard demon. But we'll have to wait and see. It could very well happen. Another very exciting thing that we saw this past week, getting into more of the Geneva news here coming up, is the McLaren 720S. Bloomberg accidentally leaked one picture. We have a high rear angle here of the 720S, and it looks really beautiful from that one shot. We're hopefully going to see more next week at the Geneva Motor Show. But the official thing that McLaren revealed this past week about the 720S is that it has this new folding driver display with it flips down and shows you a simpler view. So I've really got to take my hat off to McLaren. This is truly innovative and unique and different. Instead of, the status quo of having a standard gauge cluster, which is digital and looks cool, they actually innovated this. And so it's like, well, you don't need all that information if you're focused on track driving. You need three basic things: your tachometer, your speed, and your gear. And that's what it shows with this little slim view, and gives you a much better view of the road. But then if you want to relax, or you're in a more cruising environment, you can have the full display there, and it'll show obviously your fuel, which you're going to need eventually, and all those other things, and your temps and all the advanced telemetrics that you usually get with McLaren systems there. And so that's pretty cool, though. I mean, it's so awesome, and I mean, it's going to be your very sweet party trick at Cars and Coffee Meets to have your gauge cluster fold down and back up. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, but very cool, and hopefully we see the full 720S next week. Some exciting news this past week for Porsche enthusiasts, and that is two different versions of the Panamera. The first is the beautiful 2018 Panamera Sport Turismo wagon, which is actually headed to the United States. We're getting this wagon. Such great news. And as you can see, it's really beautiful. We only have a few pictures of it here, but it's totally unique from the B-pillars back. So it's obviously got larger cargo space there in the back. And actually, for the first time, this Panamera is offered with 3 seats in the back row there. So the second row, you can actually, it used to be that it was just a 2-seater in the back there and you had a console in the middle, but now you can actually get, a small little middle seat there if you'd like. But yeah, it's a pretty sweet looking thing, and obviously just it helps to increase the cargo capacity over normal Panameras. There's going to be 4 different versions of it. The first one, they're all going to have all-wheel drive for the first point, but the base car is going to be $97,250 and has a turbo V6 that does 330 horsepower, and then the next level up is the e-hybrid, which is $105,050 and features the twin turbo 2.9 liter V6, and it also has an electric motor, of course, being the e-hybrid. So it does a total of 462 horsepower, which is kind of strange because then the S model above that is $110,000, so roughly $5,000 more, and only does 440 horsepower, strangely enough, and it also has the same 2.9 liter twin turbo V6. But for some reason, the hybrid model is slower, even though it has more combined power. Not sure why, but anyway, then there's the top of the line turbo model that does 550 horsepower from the 4-liter twin turbo V8. And that one starts at $155,050. So they're all pretty good performers, though. Even the base model hits 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. The S model is 4 seconds, 4.4 seconds for that hybrid. Like I said, not sure why, considering it's supposed to have higher power. But then the turbo is the fastest of all of them with a 3.4 seconds 0 to 60 time. And they have all kinds of cool stuff. Like there's a new extendable rear spoiler that comes out and comes over the hatch area there, and it actually helps with wind noise, apparently, whenever the moonroof is opened up, and obviously helps with stability and all that kind of stuff. So this performs just as high as all the other Panameras, and has the same performance standards. Anyway, these are going to be available at the end of this year, end of 2017 here, early 2018. And another version of the Panamera that is also going to be revealed around the same time is the Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid, which again is similar to the E-Hybrid version of the Sport Turismo, but this one is a lot higher performing. So considering this is the Turbo S E-Hybrid, so you're going to have the most powerful V8 engine there with a 4-liter 550 horsepower V8, but then the electric motor in this one does 136 horsepower on its own. So you have, like I said, 680 horsepower, 626 pound-feet of torque. It also has a 14.1 kilowatt lithium ion battery pack that'll do 31 miles on its own on just pure electricity, and all that low-end torque also helps this one to outperform the standard turbo model, the Panamera, and so 3.2 seconds is the 0 to 60 time, and 192 miles per hour is the top speed. So very, very quick. It's going to do the 8-speed PDK dual clutch like all the others. Standard all-wheel drive, of course. It also can come in the regular wheelbase or the executive wheelbase. The regular one is $185,450 starting, and the longer one is $195,850. So I mean, these are really expensive sedans. But yeah, so that, like I said, that'll also be arriving here at the end of 2017. Another vehicle that we have the full reveal of here early before the Geneva Motor Show is the Range Rover Velar. Now, I showed a couple pictures of it last week, but they have all the info on it now here. And first, I just want to stop and say, man, is it a good-looking thing. It looks very Range Rover-esque, but very futuristic and sleek. And I mean, I think everyone's going to go crazy about this styling. It looks so good. So as I mentioned last week, it's based on the F-Pace, Jaguar F-Pace underpinnings, but it's obviously been heavily reworked by Range Rover, so it is not just a badge job or anything like that. It's going to be on sale this summer. It's going to be starting at $50,895. But when I tell you more about the base trim, it's going to seem a little less appealing. This fully loaded model can get up to $90,295 for this launch edition as well. But yeah, so I mean, you're looking at about an $8,000 upcharge over a base F-Pace. So it will be a little bit more premium than the F-Pace, that's for sure. But Land Rover says it fits right in the middle between the Evoque and Range Rover Sport as far as pricing goes. But they're saying that it's going to be lower and longer. So because of that, now it has some compromised off-roading ability, but it still is a very true off-roader in typical Land Rover fashion. But it'll only wade in 25.6 inches of water versus the other ones, like you saw in the Grand Tour with Jeremy Clarkson driving through with water like coming up over the hood. So obviously, like I said, this is the lower one, so it's not supposed to be quite as capable. And they're saying this is supposed to compete with the BMW X5s, Audi Q7s, all those types of vehicles. And so yeah, but they said most models will come with air suspensions, which allows them to be equipped with Land Rover's terrain response system, which has all that high-tech stuff to help with off-roading capabilities. There's going to be 4 engine choices in the UK, but here in America we're getting only 3 of those. Of course, we're not getting the top-of-the-line 3-liter turbo diesel, but we are getting one diesel, the 180 horsepower 2-liter one. In addition to that, we're also getting the standard 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder gas engine is going to be the base motor in this thing. So I mean, it seems like a pretty big vehicle to have a little turbo 4, 247 horsepower, and that actually makes it the slowest one of the bunch. I think 8.4 seconds 0 to 60. Now, the interesting thing is now with the F-Pace, there's a normal supercharged 3-liter V6 gas engine that does 340 horsepower. That's not available in the Velar. You either get that small turbo 4-cylinder engine or you go up to the 380 horsepower supercharged V6, which is the same motor as the F-Pace S. So then that one's pretty quick, does 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. So yeah, but I mean, a very, very compelling thing. And like I said, they're going to be on sale this summer, and I'm sure you can expect to see these things everywhere in short time. Because it's going to be priced right, hopefully, and be very compelling for those that want a luxury cruiser. Another nice luxury cruiser that was debuted this past week was Mercedes' new E400 Cabriolet, which has the same specs as the normal E400. It's just the convertible two-door version. One interesting thing, though, for the first time ever, the Cabriolet is going to be offered with 4MATIC all-wheel drive, which helps, for those that want to have the top down, but also want to be able to drive around in the snow. You're set with this. And in typical Mercedes fashion, last week I was talking about all their special edition models they're revealing for their different various anniversaries. Well, apparently it's the 25th anniversary of the E-Class convertible, and so they're doing a 25th anniversary model of this vehicle as well as a limited edition model. But yeah, so it does look very good, though, I gotta say, in its transition to the convertible form, and looks very good. And Peugeot revealed a new car they're going to be debuting at Geneva next week, which is very interesting. And we don't get Peugeots here in the States, so usually I don't talk about cars that aren't coming to America too much. But this thing is particularly intriguing. It's this really pretty shooting brake concept, and obviously it's very concept car-like, but it has some interesting ideas that they're incorporating in this, that they're kind of trying to predict what the future will be like for driving. It's an autonomous car, but you can drive it yourself, so the pedals and the steering wheel retract and all that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing are the different modes. Now, there's two modes that allow you to drive it. One is called Driving Boost, and one's called Driving Relax. The Relax mode has the full assortment of the semi-autonomous assist to help you with your driving. There's also a Driving Boost mode, which really sharpens everything up and limits the involvement of the computer, so you can just focus on driving it. But then the autonomous modes are pretty intelligent. There's an autonomous sharp mode that finds the fastest route for you, and when it's for whenever you're commuting or when you're in a rush, it'll try and get you there as quickly as possible, within safe means. And then the second mode is autonomous soft, which is designed to make the journey relaxing, they say. And they say that it'll sometimes take a longer route to give you more time to watch a movie or read a book if you so desire. And it gets more weird, though. So what it also says is that it'll give you different intelligent notifications, but it's all tied into like your smartwatch and your phone, all kind of stuff. And so if it detects that there's bad traffic or weather, it'll tell you to leave earlier. And if it knows that you just worked out at the gym, it'll drive in a more relaxed fashion on your way home to help relax you. And if you don't exercise enough at the gym, it'll remind you the next day that you need to walk more in order to even things out. And I'm sure hopefully that stuff could be turned off in this hypothetical car if it actually did ever get produced. But pretty crazy. Hopefully, cars don't nag you like, oh, you're not exercising enough. But kind of funny to see that, and a very interesting idea. Other interesting tech being revealed at the Geneva Motor Show is Volvo has a new system here for helping avoid accidents. So they've enhanced, I should say, their city safety system, but they've introduced a new thing called oncoming lane mitigation. But anyway, that city safety system, it does this typical automatic braking whenever it detects people, large animals, and vehicles. But it also has automatic steering now, which in addition to applying the brakes, will actually steer the car out of the way if brakes aren't sufficient to avoid a crash. And it works from speeds from 31 miles per hour to 62 miles per hour. And then they also have enhanced their blind spot monitoring system in these vehicles, so that if the car detects that a vehicle is in the lane that the driver is steering towards, so if you're making a lane change and it detects a car there, the car actually applies opposite steering force and fights against you and pulls your car back into its correct lane where it feels it's safe. Which I'm a little uneasy about, because there's sometimes where these systems don't figure out things correctly, and you need to make your own evasive maneuvers. And if the car is fighting you at the wheel and you can't steer it where you want it to go, hopefully that would be overridden. But I don't know how pushy this system is, but could have the potential to go awry pretty badly. But anyway, it also has this oncoming lane mitigation where if the Volvo detects that the driver has crossed into the oncoming lane of traffic, it'll be able to recognize oncoming vehicles and steer back into the correct lane or steer around vehicles if you're really out of whack, I guess. And that works from speeds of 37 miles per hour to 87 miles per hour. So pretty crazy stuff there. This is all going to be on their new XC60 crossover, which is going to be debuted here at Geneva next week. And so very interesting to see that. Mercedes, their new C-Class was spied with a refresh. Now, it's the same C-Class as before, but they've just refreshed the front and the back end primarily, and so you can see there's some new headlights there that look sharper, and also, they've camouflaged the front of the front bumper there on the bottom. On the back, you can see some new taillights as well, which look sharper and more modern than the current C-Class taillights, and so good enhancements. We'll probably be seeing those for the 2018 model year here in a few months. Also, the Jeep Wrangler was spied yet again, this time wearing less camouflage, but we still can't tell too much, aside from the fact that it's going to have a spare tire mounted backup camera you can see in the back there. Otherwise, we know that the windshield is a little more slanted now, but we really can't tell too much more. Hopefully this thing will be coming out relatively soon. We believe it's a 2018 model year vehicle, so I would say the New York Auto Show is the latest that we would see this, so hopefully we'll see it then in April, but interesting to see that. Ford has unveiled a competition package, or competition series is what they're calling it, for the Ford GT supercar, and it's just to help shed weight and really make this thing even more lightweight and more hardcore. And when I say hardcore, I really mean it. This competition package, it has a Perspex acrylic engine cover. It's not glass. They're getting rid of the glass, and it has this basically a plastic polycarbonate kind of thing going on. It also uses Gorilla Glass for the bulkhead behind the driver to separate the engine from the passenger compartment, and that's Gorilla Glass now, so it's even lighter as well. Again, all to keep the car lighter. It also has manual latches for the hood and carbon fiber hood props for the the bonnet in the back, I should say. Also, Ford deletes the air conditioning, the infotainment, the cup holders, radio, and storage bins if you get this competition series. So you don't get any radio, but you can't even have drinks. There's no cup holders, no storage bins. So they are going the full way with this thing. And in addition, as far as the outside, you get gloss carbon fiber striping, carbon A-pillars, mirror caps, and the lower body is also exposed gloss carbon fiber. You get more carbon fiber on the interior, as well as Alcantara suede with red accents. It's going to be available in black, white, silver, blue, gray, or yellow. And they say that with this lighter package, it only weighs 3,054 pounds. So lighter than before, and they say that they're not adding any additional production for these models, so it's just going to be for the already 1,000 they have agreed to build over the next 4 years. However many people want this competition series, that will eat into that amount of production. But so pretty extreme, and again, it's clearly just for people that are only tracking these things, because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. And the last two stories this week. The first is we're hearing more about the upcoming Lexus LC F. Now, the LC is just launching on its own with the LC 500. We're already hearing about a more powerful version that's going to be revealed at the 2017 Tokyo Motor Show here in October. And what we're hearing is very detailed information that was apparently leaked by a Lexus insider that spoke with Car and Driver, and they say that it's going to have a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that does 600 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, which is even more than the LFA supercar, which only had 552 horsepower. They say the engine is essentially two of their inline 4-cylinder turbo engines just mated together at 90 degrees there. And so this engine is also going to be available in the GSF sedan apparently down the road to make it more powerful, for those that wanted more power in the GSF. I love the GSF I reviewed, but more power certainly couldn't hurt. And they say in that mode it's going to have 550 horsepower, but for the LCF it'll be 600. And in addition to that, the LCF is also going to have a more aggressive appearance that, again, very specific details, is going to have hood vents, air ducts for brake cooling, a fixed rear wing, front splitter, as well as side and rear air vents to, again, just help with the aerodynamics of this thing. It's going to have 20-inch wheels with 6-piston brake calipers to help it, have lots of stopping power as well. And like I said, we'll be seeing it officially in Tokyo this October, supposedly, but who knows, we might see some more before then. And the last story this week is Hyundai has teased the new 2018 Sonata, which is due for a refresh here. And from what we can tell from the two teasers, looks like it's going to be a lot sharper, a really nice improvement. Hyundai makes some beautiful cars these days, so that looks good. And there's also a teaser here for a new turbo model that's going to be coming. Who knows how high performing that will be, but certainly a very interesting idea. So anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. I apologize once again for how long it is. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Take care.